And welcome to another episode of the Reinventing Mark Clark podcast. This is a Motivating Monday episode. And today we feature Monique Smith, a survivor and successful entrepreneur, and Kamose Muhammad, CEO of Freedom Paper Company, a wealth builder, and a motivator. We join the podcast live from the House of Chiefs in Baltimore. Enjoy.
I know when I was kind of going through these stages, I would reach out sometimes to elder business people, look for their help, and a lot of them seem kind of mean. I don't know if you've ever encountered this. They seem kind of, rough, kind of, and I didn't really, but I understand today why we're like that. You know why we're like that? Because we're fighting an impossible fight as business people. Every other community, to some degree or another, has the foundational support, first and foremost, of their own community. That's just a fact. Anybody that doesn't believe that, just roll around here and go look at Korean businesses. And when you do that, you'll notice one big thing. You notice that they have Korean writing on their businesses. Anybody ever notice that? Okay. Why would they have Korean writing on their businesses? Anybody here speak Korean? I don't. Not many Caucasians speak Korean either. So who are they after as their customer, first and foremost? Their own people. And they know, without a doubt, they have faith and they know that their own people are coming. You and I may go to H Mart. Anybody been to H Mart, the supermarket? I've been there, right? You've been there, right? It's okay. It's okay to go. If they got good stuff, it's okay. But I'm just saying, even if you and I don't go, Koreans are going. So the first foundation of their strength, right? Let's just say that that's 10% of the income that they can depend on. Period. We don't have that. So those elder business people that were kind of mean, little grumpy, they were kind of, I don't know if I should really even talk to you or not. They didn't know who they could trust, because that's how we act as business people. We not sure who we can trust. We kind of tight with it a little bit. We're a little leery because we don't have these things. The other thing, though, in mindset, is I want to challenge us to forget, even if you've been to business school and you got an MBA, and that's great. I know a lot of my friends went to college. I've been to college. I don't have a degree in college. I've made $1 million twice, though. Not bragging. I lost it the first time. So I lost it. So when I built the real estate company and had the property management company and did the finance, the Great Recession hit. I had stepped up a level to become a developer. Couldn't find a foothold here in Maryland or Baltimore. Couldn't get anybody to get me in the game. I did have some people who, let me say it this way. There's a game here that's often played with us where other people outside of ourselves mentor us. Other communities, other ethnic communities, right? Sometimes they'll pick some of us and say, hey, come on, we'll teach you. And now they're doing that because they can get something from us. They can put us in front of things. So if you need a black face on your project, then the good way to do that is to mentor somebody. Now there's pros and cons. I'm not saying this is all bad. I'm just telling us the story, right, about how it happens. I looked at that. I was open to that. I thought about that. I didn't particularly like that for myself personally. That happens a lot, though, and a lot of people make big money, right? A lot of our millionaires came through a system or a process like that, but at the end of that, you may ultimately end up controlled. I don't want that. Now, that's just me. I ultimately want my own control. My spirit is, like Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner. Like, that's me. But that's problematic in the business world where other people pull the purse strings, right? So one of the things I want to really get across in terms of mindset is if we want anything different, we have to do things differently. Like, we can sit around here all day long and look at the condition of the neighborhoods. We can complain about the schools. I'm going to talk a little bit about the insanity of us as it relates to schools. Let me just say it now because the Spirit just hit me in the head and said that. So let's ponder on this a second. We say we're free people is what we say, right? Nobody said anything. Are we free? Yeah, okay. That's what we say. Okay. I'm going to say we kind of free. Kind of. So anyway, if we're free people that have knowledge, some conscious knowledge of ourselves, right? Would we say we understand that the most important resource among us is our children? Will we agree to that? Okay. When the colonizers came in, right? I'm talking colonization. I'm not even going to touch slavery at this moment. That's a part of colonization, obviously. That's where it starts with that. Captives, then you take over the territory and the land, you colonize the people. After you've colonized the physical body of the person, what do you colonize next? Their minds, right? So if you were to do a cursory look, and you would see in every colonized place that we're in, that the education of that place is controlled by somebody else. So right here, education is controlled by other than ourselves. And if you go to Ghana, it's controlled by an English system. If you go to Senegal, it's controlled by a French system. If you go to Angola, Portuguese system. So whenever the colonizer enslaver went in, he took over the mental aspect of the people. Because once I have your mind, your body will follow. So why are we shocked that we're not producing better people, a new black man and black woman? We keep coming up with the same thing when anybody pretty much in this room, for the most part, unless you just happen to have really revolutionary parents, you were blessed with that, then we didn't get conscious until we were at least 20-something, maybe 30 or 40-something. So if we want something new and different, if we want to see a change in our reality, we have to change our mindset. Our children could do that. We could do that in a generation. Everything would change. Because the spirit in our babies, that we see them wilding, as we say, we see them acting out and acting up. They look uncontrollable. They're not afraid of anything, number one. So they have the spirit of their ancestors. They're warriors. They're not afraid. They're just undisciplined for the most part, right? Imagine now us building a school system funded by us that we would have the power to inculcate in our babies the actual reality of themselves from kindergarten, from nursery school, from pre-K, whatever that is, all the way through. You would have a new people in a generation. I got to say that. Because everything we're doing in business, this struggle, this fight, is ridiculous, right? My struggle as a business person and the difficulty of it, it's just been ridiculous. Because if we have $1.3, $1.4 trillion as a people, why is this so hard? It just doesn't make any sense. So mindset, we got to change mindset. We got to change mindset. We got to change mindset. I don't want to go too long. How much time I got? Okay, so spirituality, mindset. Now, I'm gonna kick into money. I'm gonna traverse back and forth. Money. Now, America is controlled by a system called capitalism, right? The Western world, in fact, and let's just be honest, the world is controlled by Western powers. If you didn't know that, or you don't believe that, or you don't accept that, then you're not in reality. That's because that's what it is at the moment. There's a change going on. The universal change is happening. African people are starting to come up. I'm hoping we're recognizing this and watching this ourselves. But we can't just sit back and be bystanders, which we often are doing. Too much. We're not proactive enough, in my opinion, humbly. We're not doing what our ancestors did. If we don't yet believe that we're the greatest people on the planet, who else can build a pyramid? With all the technology and computers and AI power they have today, they can't figure out how to build a pyramid. Purportedly, we didn't have all of that, but technically we did. Like, it's buried under the sands, our technologies and knowledge, because our ancestors saw the coming of enemies who would take us into captivity. But even the technology that we're afraid of, and I was somewhat afraid of technology some time ago, but all of a sudden I love it. It's all ours. Even in that thing I called African spiritual technology, there is a Orisha, Ogun. You all have heard of Oshun. I know my sisters, right? Okay. So in that pantheon of Orishas, one of them is named Ogun, the mighty warrior, but he's also over technology. So this technology today that they call blockchain in particular, brothers and sisters, it itself is the game changer. You know why? Because nobody really controls it. This is something that we can be in front of. Oftentimes what has happened is even when we are the inventor of a thing, somebody else comes in and takes out intellectual property. Even if we had the momentum to get it started, like the great Reginald Lewis, right? A Baltimorean. I know y'all read the book. You ain't read the book? Why should white guys have all the fun? That's what he said. I agree. But when you read the book, as he was sojourning through his trials and tribulations on his way up to become the first black owner of an international food corporation, control of food is very serious. Control of resources and food and things of that nature is not something they generally want us to do and don't really want to allow us to do. But he was able to accomplish it. And I remember at the end of that book, it's been a long time since I've read it, but at the end of the book, he says something like, and after reaching, paraphrasing, after reaching this height, this great achievement, I realized it was only the beginning. Can you imagine? So he realized now that the real fight had begun. So, because after you reach these great achievements, they don't let you alone. They don't leave you alone. Oftentimes what happens is they take over our companies. Anybody heard of Shea Moisture? Shea Moisture was a family-owned business, 25 or more years old, had grown to $200 million a year. Very big in terms of the scale and size of a black-owned business. Not a lot of our businesses get to be that big. Shea Moisture doesn't exist anymore in terms of black ownership, if you didn't know. They went, to my understanding, I've done just some cursory research. I could be making some mistakes here. But to my understanding, they had to go get financing. You need money when you're in business all the time, even when you make it big. Sometimes we think we don't really understand economics necessarily. This is a challenge for us because sometimes when you see a black-owned company, they look good, and the people, they look like they're doing well, and they might be doing okay, but they might be in tremendous debt. They might be making $5-10 million a year. They might be way over their head in debt, and nobody knows except them. And they ain't gonna tell you because we can't talk to each other like that, quite. Unfortunately, right? And we don't have necessarily the relationships and the organization that we can come to each other and get large amounts of capital. Other cultures have that. Y'all heard of it? I'm going to use the Koreans now. The Korean Business Association. Y'all heard of that? Yeah. They don't go to banks for trifling money. Trifling money is to like $100,000. That's little money. That's little money, right? Maybe even $1 million. That's not big money, to be honest with you. It's not big, right? So imagine having an organization of people that you need, let's say, $50,000. And you can come to this organization and get $50,000. But you know why that works for them? And it's difficult for it to work for us right now. Two things. One, they value themselves and they respect it. And two, there's penalty if you don't do what you're supposed to do. So if you don't pay back that money, they're going to put you out, your family out. They're going to make sure that nobody does business with you. So we need to build that kind of organizational prowess among ourselves and have that kind of respect for ourselves in order to have that kind of power. Again, mindset, right? Or else we just going to keep going to the bank. But haven't banks been prejudiced against us and discriminated against us and redlined against us? Has this changed? No, it has not changed. In all of these years, it hasn't changed. This is why black banks existed, by the way, in the first place, because they didn't want to give us any money. But now we only have, 18 black banks? You know why we only have 18 black banks? Because we don't support them. Mindset, right? So our understanding about money and how money really works has to change. Anybody know, if you don't know, these words, economy of scale. Economy of scale. There used to be this thing during segregation in particular, where, during segregation, a black-owned business, well, let me say it this way. First of all, during segregation, it was very hard for us to own businesses. If you owned a business, usually it was a business that they didn't want to deal with. So funeral homes, for example, thrived because they didn't want to deal with that. We don't care, bury your own people. We ain't trying to do that anyway. So the funeral home business, that's why funeral home businesses thrive. They're very big today, have always been very big in the black community, right? Barbershops, beauty salons, right? We don't want to touch y'all anyway. We don't like y'all, so y'all go do your own hair, right? No problem. Other businesses, a little bit more challenging, especially in the early days of segregation. So sometimes we would have to hire a white man to do business for us. Y'all, this just occurred to me. We still doing that. Maybe not so much. Y'all, a lot of us are old enough to know when black people in business used to say, you gotta get a white person, put them in front. You want to do business, you want to get big, you gotta hire a white person and put them in front. I think that's kind of sad, right? But I understand, because we feel like you gotta do what you gotta do. And again, because we don't have a foundation, that's why we gotta do that. Because I gotta go after these white dollars more so than the black dollars, because the black dollars is following the white dollars. So maybe if I get the white person and then the white people like me, then maybe the black people buy from me. Sixth cycle. So I have been trying to challenge this cycle my whole business career. All right, I've gone against the grain. And going back to capitalism, understand that capitalism being the rugged, raw nature that it is, that Caucasians generally do things only caring about the money. Now, I'm saying that in a generalization. I don't want anybody to come back and say whatever. I say that because I don't know what all Caucasians do. I know what capitalists do, though. You could just look at the history of capitalists in the United States and across the world, and we know what they do, right? They go in and they take land, they destroy resources, they destroy territory. All of this stuff they do, why? To make money. Black people should not be capitalists. What should we be? Communalists. You can make money and you can get wealthy. Nothing wrong with that. Your gifts, talents, and skills should benefit you. I believe that absolutely. But then we should circulate wealth. We shouldn't be greedy. Things like that, right? Communalists. We make sure that the environment is taken care of. We make sure that people mean something. This is different than their system. We need to stop following their system, right? Now, if we imagine ourselves doing that and we begin to take these dollars and use our money in a particular way, and getting back to this technology for a moment, because it is so critical, nobody controls it. Remember, oh, by the way, be careful of narratives. What we're doing here, Brother Mark, family, is critical because the narrative is continually spinned over and over and over again. In other words, the goal of the enemy is to confuse us because we do have access to any kind of information we want to get now. So what do you do in a world where people can get any information they want? You cause confusion about the information they get. What do you really believe? So in this crypto world, right, which, by the way, is a very small element of blockchain. Blockchain, in the aspect that we deal with it, is called decentralized finance. Decentralized meaning not controlled by any single entity or person. What we have today is centralized finance. Entities and intermediaries control your money. Do you like that? Because I don't like that. I don't like when I have money in the bank and I want to go make a withdrawal and they say, no, sir, you can't get your money today. You have to come back. But that's my money. I gave it to you. I'm loaning it to you, really, because that's what my deposit is. It's a loan to you that you're sweeping nightly to make money off of and waxing rich off of it, and I can't get it? No, you can't get it. Well, decentralized finance, offers us the opportunity to control ourselves. But the narrative is it's scary, there's scammers, there's criminals, it's bad, you shouldn't get it, you're going to lose your money. All of that's possible, but it's not the whole truth. And can't you lose your money with your fiat worthless? Okay, I'm sorry. Can't you lose your fiat currency to scammers? Aren't they criminals? Aren't they stealing? Can't all of this happen anyway? So what's the difference? This is the narrative that they're spinning. But they're not telling us the power of this. Let me share some of this power. So you could get involved with Bitcoin. You know, I'm saying Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the most well-known popular cryptocurrency. But just by the way, this blockchain reality is metaverse, NFTs, investing, cryptocurrency. All of that stuff is a part of the DeFi reality, and it's bigger than that. And if it wasn't good and real, then why is Bank of America and all the big banks investing in it to the degree that they're getting patents? They're getting blockchain patents for things they're doing. If it isn't good, why is the Federal Reserve looking in by this summer to integrate the rails and the structural organization of potentially onboarding CBDC? If you don't know what CBDC is, it's central bank digital currency. So if digital currency is bad, why are they doing it? The IMF and the World Bank told African nations, you shouldn't do this. It's bad for you. You shouldn't do this. Why are they implementing it then? If it's bad. So we have to lose fear. We have to take off blinders. We have to think out of the box, and we have to become emboldened to use the strength and power of our very nature now. Because what would happen if America falls? Now, when I say that, you could think of that from some really catastrophic reality that could take place. That's possible. But let's just say, for example, because the nature of history indicates that no nation stays on top forever. It's just the nature of history. Rome, the greatest Western empire previous, fell. Greece fell. Right? The Dutch Empire fell. The British Empire fell. Can America fall? Of course. Now, what happens, though, if you're at the bottom of a society? Where does it fall? On us. But we're following along the society, hoping for the same people that have caused us all of these problems to give us solutions for our problems when they don't have solutions for their problems. Does that make any sense? So I'm advocating from a business standpoint that we do what is necessary for us to become empowered, right? So money, as we're talking about money, in the generalized, what you would call centralized financial reality. Now we're talking bonds and stocks and CDs and mutual funds, all of those kind of things, right? Anybody here investing? Are you investing? That's good. Most of us don't invest as a people. Very small percentage of us invest as a people. But statistically speaking, again, people who have wealth invest in something. If you don't invest in something, you really can't make money, even if you have a business. At some point, your money has to make money for you. It has to work for us. It has to be working while we're not working. It has to, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, just to give you some quick scenarios about centralized finance in terms of how good it is, and it's good, right, if you look at the rate of return. So number one, anybody here got a savings account? Okay. Most of us grew up just looking at the people here in this room, probably being told, gotta save your money, gotta save your money. True. Put it in a savings account. If you got a savings account, you're losing money. You're throwing it out the window. It's worthless. In fact, anything that you're invested in, of course, that is earning you less than the rate of inflation means you're in a negative. So throw savings accounts out the window. Forget that. Mutual CDs and things of that nature, kind of pretty much the same thing. Not really getting any money there. But let's look at some of the things that we're told we should invest in, that I'm going to agree that we should to some degree or another. Gold. We've been hearing a lot about gold. You should invest in gold. Now, I'm really saying you should, but you got to understand how to do that. But if you were just to invest in gold, unless some things change, and they may, you might earn somewhere around 10.79, 11%, 12%, let's say, annually. Okay, decent rate of return. Guess what's better? Silver. Silver, the rate of return on silver, roughly about 16% annually. That's pretty good, right? Blue chip stock, your Amazons and your Walmarts and these big companies, 13%, 14%. In a really, really robust stock market, if you hit 25, 30%, that's knocking the socks off of things, right? So any financial advisor, and I am not, I am a DeFi management consultant, among other things. But guess what DeFi makes conservatively? Now, if you go see a financial investor, they would generally say to you, hey, you want to get a balanced portfolio, you want a diversified portfolio. They're going to ask you, how you feel about investing. Are you aggressive? Are you moderate? Are you conservative? Okay, well, here's some conservative things. Bonds, by the way, are, considered a good investment. Of course, they're losing money today because the interest rate is going up, so bonds are going down, so they're losing money, even though, and will the government pay? Who knows? They'll just print more money anyway, and every time they print more money, then inflation goes up, and then the dollar's losing 7.5% a year, at least on average. So what is the dollar really worth? Probably nothing, but the U.S. has a military, and they're going to back their dollar by the military, but nobody really cares, and if you didn't know, there's a currency war going on right now, and America might not win. Did y'all catch all that? Okay. Now, while all of that's going on, guess what a conservative earning in DeFi is? Oh, you've been studying DeFi. So that's right around correct. So on the low end, it's like, 7, 8, 12%. So you're right there. That's conservative. Annually now we're talking 90, 100% on your earnings. Is it risky a little bit? Yeah, but so was the bond in the stock market. So it's all knowing, right? Having knowledge. That's what we do. We educate people about how to get in, how to do things in the space. It's not just about, by the way, I'm going to use a term here. The term is long investing. So what we're generally taught is long investing. Buy some Amazon stock, hold on for it for 10 years, 20 years, you're going to make some money. Guess what? That's probably true because over the course of 10, 20 years, stocks go up and down, but the average rate of return is generally going to be decent enough that if you got some real money in it, you're going to make some money. That's one way to invest. But the real people on Wall Street that make money are called day traders. Day traders don't do long investing like that. Day traders do a whole series of skill sets that make them money today and every day, at least 5 days a week. So we teach some methodologies of technical analysis and things of that nature that help us to do that in the DeFi world right now. So why is this important other than whatever you might be thinking about for yourself? What if you had your own bank? What if we had a collective bank? Is that possible? So, you know, our company, Freedom Paper Company, during the pandemic, we were blessed. We actually made money because everybody, people ran out of bathroom tissue. So we actually made a little money. But right after the pandemic, most of those customers went right back to wherever they were doing business, even most of us. So we were the savior for our own selves because we had the product you needed when you needed it, and then right after you ain't need it, you went right back and gave your money to them other people. So we experienced an actual decline right after that, and we were in a world of trouble. So again, economy of scale. This is the economy of scale reality. If a black business does not have the ability to draw volume, meaning a large number of customers or clients, and this depends on the particular industry, but I'm talking, in this case, consumer goods in particular, right? Even hair products, which we do well, but we don't control that industry by and large. But in fact, I don't think we control any other retail industry, period. In fact, I'm going to ask the question, and you can tell me at the end if you think of something. I don't think we control, note I say control, or even heavily influence or dominate any industry on the globe. Now, while you're pondering that, think about that, because somebody's going to say the record business. No. Somebody's going to say oil. No. Is that an industry? The restaurant business would be an industry. So do we dominate that? What industry do we control, dominate, or heavily influence to the point that we have real power that we can move and direct the direction of the industry? That's power. Okay. Now, economy of scale means that I have enough business coming in that I'm able to grow the business and control the influences, the exterior influences of things like inflation and economy and so forth and so on as these things are developing. Sisters, do you remember Carol's daughter? Out of business. She made $10 million. Look, she had everything they tell us. If you got an MBA, they tell you these are the things you need. You need capital. You need backers. You need a good market condition. You need a business plan. You need a marketing plan. You need a financial plan. She had all of that, to my understanding. She had backers like Will and Jada Pickett Smith. She had them. She had other celebrities backing her product. To my understanding, women love the product. It's on. It went off. I'm gonna say this would be my analysis. She certainly, and we do sometimes. I think we do oftentimes, because I don't want to say it's always somebody else's fault, because it's not. we do sometimes play a role in our own demise. But if a company has everything you would generally think it needs to survive, it should survive. So how do you make $10 million, right? Which most people would think, oh, your business made $10 million. You're probably doing pretty good. How do you make $10 million and end up in bankruptcy? Because that's what happened. L'Oreal brought the company out. How does that happen? I'm going to guess she could not really get the economy of scale she really needed to survive. She couldn't get the continuous capital she needed. So sometimes what has happened when we have built industries that have done very well, somebody knocks on our door and says, it's time to sell. You've done good. You've done very well with your business. We need to take that business over now. You might agree or disagree, and I don't know, but I have this belief, it's just mine. I would love to talk to Bob Johnson and ask him what really happened with BET. I think, possibly, perhaps, because we know that BET was in heavy debt. It was a communications enterprise more so than anything, and that's not an industry we control. So when you have something like that potentially has great capacity to get messaging across, to move masses of people, because BET was moving us in the very early days of BET. We were tuned into BET. Imagine now if BET still existed, what kind of capacity it could have to get messages and information out to us to move us in a particular way. I'm thinking perhaps somebody sat down with Mr. Johnson and said, hey, that's true. That's true. I'm thinking, though, what I'm saying was already in existence before the divorce. So the debt that the company owed was already there before the divorce. Now, if you're heavily debted, it means you own a note to someone. Somebody owns your debt. And business is warfare, so if I don't want your company to be around anymore and I have the power to call your note or get your note called or put pressure on you by heightening your interest rates or making scarcity of your opportunity to renew your loans, because that's why some of these technology companies are going out of business today, even because some people speculate that the powers that be don't want this DeFi stuff happening, so they're creating scenarios with banks that don't need to default, like I think it was Silvergate, one of the 3 banks that defaulted. There was nothing wrong with it. It didn't have a reason to default. So what happened? So I'm just saying, and it's just hypothetical, that if you don't have the ability and the resources to go in and get what you need when you need it, then somebody else has greater power and can shut you down. That's what I'm saying. And if you look at the number of businesses that we have had that have become our giants, many of them have been brought out. Now, obviously, sometimes we want to sell because we want the money at the end. We're not necessarily looking at legacy, et cetera, possibly. But many times that's not the case. So economy of scale is important for us to understand. To my point about Jim Crow and segregation, when the white man, you had to go through him to sell, he would raise your price. He would tell you, black man or woman, who you were buying from, that you had, that he, us, me, I raised your price. The white man would tell you that, no, your brother raised the price, and that's why I got to sell it to you for this money. It's him. He did it to you, your own brother. Right? This is how you divide us. So now, even today, y'all know we say black people prices is high. Don't we say that? Come on. I ain't hear nothing. Yeah, we say that. Now, it may be some truth to that, but there's a reason for that. The reason is what I just said. Economies of scale, the cycle of non-support, etc. Mindset. Y'all know who Claude Anderson is? So in his book, Powernomics, one of the passages I really love, because it's right around here, right close to us, he talks about this group of black businessmen who went, and maybe women, who went to the Koreans in Washington, D.C., and if you're familiar with Washington, D.C., they have this corridor right up off of New York Avenue and Florida Avenue. It's a Korean business district. And so Claude Anderson says that these group of businessmen went to the Koreans, and they said, hey, we can save you millions of dollars. You guys should do business with us. So they began to negotiate the deal. Koreans said, nah, it's okay. We good. We don't want to do it. The black people said, okay, we'll make a stronger offer. So they made a stronger offer. So at the end of this negotiation, the black business people had offered the Koreans a 25% savings. Oh, did y'all hear what I said? 25% savings over whatever the cost of whatever they were buying. What do you think the Koreans said? They said, you don't understand. We do business with Koreans. Why would somebody be willing to pay 25% more? Is there any good logic to that? She said yes. Well, I'm going to suggest that there is as well. The logic to that is the understood and understand, and other people understand this. When money circulates through the community, today we buy at X price. But when money circulates through the community, we get economy of scale. So now we're not just some small little isolated company in the big world of business. No, we begin to control robust companies that control millions and billions of dollars of scale of trade and commerce, and now our price is what we want it to be. So now we conquer the community. We conquer the business realm. We the ones that control that industry. We dictate price. So we sacrifice the cost today because tomorrow we'll have the power to dominate the industry. But you and I, we won't buy if it's $1 more, 5 cents more. Yo, it's 5 cents more down the street. I'm going down there. Now, the business people, us, we got to do much better as well because we don't communicate well. We don't have these conversations among ourselves. Black business people, we the worst because we don't buy from each other either. We don't do business with each other. I'm sure my sister, she's in construction. Joint ventures, tough, right? Very tough. Very tough to get us, even if we're fairly large companies, to sit down at the table and say, look, if we sit down at this table and we do a teaming agreement, we do a joint venture, then we'll have the capacity and power to go after the big money. We don't do it. You know why? Because with mindset, we were taught that Negroes can only have a slice of the pie. All you'll ever have is a slice. So you Negroes need to fight over this slice because y'all not getting the pie. That's insanity. Everything in the world is setting under the feet of African peoples. Everything. We control the pie in reality. But if we believe we don't, then we'll only be sharecropping in 2023 and beyond. And most of us are just sharecropping, to be honest with you. We have higher levels of sharecropping. We call them different things. This is not to say anything bad about what our current position is or having to do what you have to do. If you need to be a subcontractor to gain capacity and strength to learn and to grow, that's what you do. But you want to be the prime at some point. You want to have the ability to be the prime contractor. Even if me, you, and 3 other people got to go in together as the prime. We the prime now, right? That's what we really want, or we should want if we're in business. Because you shouldn't even be in business if you're not in business to win. Because there's a war. If somebody going to come out victorious, and everybody else is going to be laid bare. So those are the 3 things I wanted to say: spirituality, mindset, money. Get in the game. Let's stop being bystanders. Events like this, Projects Million More's movement in general, in terms of what that represents for men and women, that's grassroots reality. And this is, most people don't know who I am, don't necessarily know what I've done, but I think I met a gentleman years ago when I was getting up into that developer realm, and I didn't really think a lot of myself per se, and this brother pulled me aside. He said, brother, let me tell you something, man. He said, Negroes is running around here acting like they big Negroes and they got big cars. And he said, man, you doing 10 times bigger than what they doing. Even though you're not flaunting it like that, even though you don't see it that way. Because he was a finance guy. So he knew the finances, the real financial numbers of many people in this town who perpetrate themselves to be bigger than they really are, right? And, you fake it till you make it. We say that. But I'm saying we ain't even got to fake it anymore. If we just start following principle, I want to conclude with principle, right? I said we shouldn't be capitalists. Remember, capitalism starts with slavery. That's where capitalism starts. Capitalism says you do whatever you got to do to make money. So somebody said, look at the Negroes over there. If we go get them and work them, we ain't got to do this work. Then we can get this sugar cane and we can get this cotton and we can wax rich. Let's go get them. And they pass laws, right? The Pope, the papal bull, that wrote into existence the right for the Portuguese in particular to go in first and foremost and start taking slaves. So even the religious institutions were involved in this tragedy, which there's no greater tragedy. And why can't we even talk about our tragedy anymore without somebody attacking us? That's another thing. Anyway, principle, mayat, from our ancestors, right? 7 basic principles. If we follow these 7 basic principles, all of these things that we say about ourselves, we can eradicate. I promise you. Y'all know we say we can't trust each other because we acting like other than ourselves. So if we become what we really are, principled people, the originators of the planet Earth, the original people who stood on principle, because we are the founders of all great civilization, and all great civilization is founded first and foremost on principle. Mayat, number 1, truth. Y'all know this world ain't based on no truth. It's so bad that the fake news is faker than the fake news that is fake. It's just, we don't know what to believe, right? So truth. We got to tell the truth. Number 2, balance. We got to be balanced. I'm suggesting we're quite unbalanced. Either we're going to beat each other down too hard for the smallest of things, or we're going to give you a pass no matter what you do. That's total imbalance. So balance is number 2. And by the way, this is the proper order of Mayat. Because if you don't have truth, you can't have anything else. Can't have balance without truth. Number 3 is justice. So we can't clamor for justice from other people, demand justice, but we're unjust to ourselves. That's not going to work. I was at a meeting, a retreat, and the sister spoke out about how she felt about us brothers, in particular, that the injustice that we all feel from outside forces, she felt from us. So we got to be just to ourselves first and foremost, before everybody else, because black people give justice to everybody. Somebody kills a black person, and the black people show up and say, I pray God forgive you. I forgive you already. Don't nobody else do that. Well, I haven't heard anybody else say that. Other people want retribution. And just so you know, both Bible and Quran say retribution is righteous. I'm just saying, it's in the book. Eye for an eye. I don't know. Anyway, so justice is number 3. Number 4 is order. You got to have order. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said we suffer as a people for 2 reasons. 1, we have no order. Lack of organization. Our biggest organizations, by the way, bless their hearts and all the great work they've ever done. I won't even mention their names. You already know who they are. The problem is, though, they're controlled by other than us because we're not the ones who give the major funding. Back to money. If you don't fund it, you don't control it, period. Forget about that. That goes for politicians as well. Even the best-hearted politician who really loves us and really wants to do the great job for us, if we're not the one funding them, they're going to have to acquiesce to somebody else who got the pocketbook. Just a fact of reality. By the way, if we got more businesses, businesses can fund. If you got more organizations can fund, right? So order. The next one is reciprocity. Isn't it better to create a win-win deal? Why can't you win at the same time? But if you're a capitalist, it's winner take all, right? That's what we've been taught. So we got to eradicate that mindset because you and I can't win that way. Because if we acting that way, we're always at each other's throats, fighting each other over the crumbs and the spoils that they've shrugged off the table and told us that's the only thing we get. Y'all heard of the proverbial crabs in the barrel? Well, that's it. So forget about that, and we must think about reciprocity. Reciprocity, by the way, is the natural law and order of things. Everything that the Most High creates reciprocity. It rains, the rain feeds the plants feed the humans give off carbon dioxide, the plants give off oxygen, reciprocity. That's the natural way and order of the Most High. That's our way. Their way is something different. Look at their systems, look at their civilizations, because before they came to Africa, they were killing each other in droves. It's just a fact of history. So we have to go away from that. That was what? 5? Number 6 is propriety, right? We have to strive to do and be on accord with principle. We have to be doing what's right for righteous sake. Don't just do it because somebody did something for you. Very, very bad thing. Many of us get caught up with that, by the way. And I want to say spiritually, if you get caught up, like you're a nice person, because you're a nice person and you really, in your heart, you like to do good things, but you feel like every time you do something good, somebody hurt your feelings. I used to be that way. Then I figured out this. It ain't their fault. One of two things probably happened. One, you thought because you did something for somebody else that they was going to do something for you. Who told you that was going to happen? Did you have a discussion? Did you tell the person, look, man, look, sister, if I do this for you, this is what I want. Wouldn't that be better? Then if they say, okay, I agree, and they don't do it, now they've broken the principle. But if I don't even know what you want, and you just expected it because you expected it in your mind and it don't happen, that's not my fault. That happens to, I know I'm talking to somebody here. So that happens to us a lot, right? So we got to get away from being like that. So propriety. And the last one is righteousness. So if we do all of these other 6 steps, the outcome, the produce, the product of those principles is righteousness. And when we have that, nobody can do anything to us. We are literally unstoppable. It is the reason why this system works day and night at every level and always has. That any time it sees the inkling in us, anywhere on the globe, that, they look like they getting ready to do something. They trying to put an end to that. But it's so much going on right now, and they're trying to keep their own world afloat. They don't have that much time to keep up with us quite the same way. What's that Damon Wayans thing? Message. So family, I'm Brother Bay Kamose Muhammad. I am a serial constant entrepreneur. We do business consulting now, as well as has the distribution company. I still think we could take over the distribution game. I haven't thrown in the towel on that. It's been a tough 12 years. It's still here. By the way, when I talked about owning your own bank, that's the only reason Freedom Paper Company is still in existence. I was able to learn the DeFi reality, and we created wealth, our own bank out of DeFi, and then we're able to fund our failing company and keep it alive. Again, imagine this for yourself individually. Imagine for ourselves collectively. There's real power, and the ancestors will not bless us until we come to unity. You want to know why things aren't coming together quite? Because they actually are putting upon us a prerequisite responsibility to not do where they fail, to undo where they fail and not commit the same mistakes. So unity, and when we say unity, guess what? I want to clear this up. We ain't all even got to like each other. You ain't got to like me. I ain't got to like you. But we do have to understand we have to have common interests. Because all these other groups, they don't like each other. They're not all friends. They're not all bosom buddies. They understand they got the same common interests. When we win as a team. When we lose as a team. So even if you are a billionaire black person, when you get pulled over by the police, they're not asking you how much money you got. They don't even care. You just black. Oprah Winfrey went into some jewelry store or something. They ain't treat her right. When I heard on the news one day, y'all remember what's the professor? Gates, right? He's a big shot guy. He got harassed. He's black. That's all somebody saw. They didn't care what you're in the upper class people. Let us treat you better. Nope. You just black. So we're a team, and you're a team. You're on this team if you care or not. But this team you on. So let us learn to work together to make the team win. Because if we win together, we're all going to do better. Most of our sorrows and our suffering, we could eliminate, I'm going to say, we could eliminate it in at least 1 year if we just transfer the power of money. And I know somebody's going to say, well, what's in it for me, Muhammad? If I buy from you, what's in it for me? What you want? Put a demand. You want, listen, I'm going to ask this question. If black businesses say to black people, buy from us wholeheartedly and unequivocally and unresolvingly for 1 year, make no excuses, because we're famous for making excuses. Even if there's no excuse, we're going to find one. Well, it was raining that day. I had a brother tell me, brother, I be wanting to buy bathroom tissue, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm just lazy. So, I wait till the last minute. I get down to the little teeny roll, and then I run down to Walmart. That was his reason. He was at least honest. But I'm saying, these are the rationale. But you wondering why don't nobody respect us? Let me ask the nicest one of us, as I'm concluding, brother. The nicest one of you in this audience, you see somebody on the street, they want some charity. You're a charitable person, you give them some. But let's just say you say, hey, you start a conversation. What do? Oh, I got this. And they tell you they got a skill. And you say, hey, look, let me give you this card and go down to so-and-so, or you can get this help, or you can do this and you can do that, and blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks later, you see the same person. And they say, hey, can you help me out? And you say, hey, didn't I tell you? Did you go down to see such and such? Did you go see so-and-so? Did you do this and that? No. Well, why you ain't do it? Because, I don't know. I ain't had time. You ain't had time. You out here every day. Right? I'm just saying, I'm making an analogy. That's kind of how we look to other people in a way. This is not to say that other people don't owe us, because we are owed reparations for sure. But by the way, no other group has simply been given reparations. They put a demand on it. Nobody's giving away nothing in this world. Only those who are strong enough to demand it will get it. And only by group power. So, thank you all. Appreciate you.
Brother Kamose Muhammad. Now, who's willing to, okay, I'm going to sign up. I'm signing up. So who's willing to, raise your hand if you're willing to sign up for paper today. Raise your hand. What is the monthly commitment?
Everything you use in your house, we sell.
Paperworks.
And it's better for you. So if you didn't know, for example, your bathroom tissue is often poisoned with chemicals like dioxin. Right? Dioxin is cancer causing. So we sell paper that doesn't have dioxin in it. Your toothpaste, fluoride is well known not to be good for you. We sell toothpaste that doesn't have that. Your laundry detergent has chemicals in it, quads, they're called, that destabilize your system. That's why many of us started getting rashes and allergies, and we don't know why necessarily. So we sell products that don't have these chemicals. But pretty much from your trash can liner, your paper towel, your bathroom tissue. So when people say, well, I don't like your bathroom tissue because it's not this, it's not Charmin, or it's not Scott's, or it's, okay, you're right, it's not any of them. We're right in the middle, so A lot of women like the tissue sisters. Matter of fact, women are the largest buyers of the product. So it's medium soft. But if you like a Charmin-y soft, which is on that scale of softness, and you say, well, I can't do your bathroom tissue. Well, what about the paper towels? Yeah. Do our trash can liners have to be extra special?
Okay, who wants to make a commitment? I'm making a commitment today, Brother Kamose, even if it's the minimal order. Anybody else want to make a commitment? Okay.
FreedomPaperCompany.com. Freedom, those 3 words, because there's another company, white-owned company called Freedom Paper in another part of the country. FreedomPaperCompany.com.
They kept it real. They didn't raise their hand. They didn't even, we couldn't pressure them, so that's good. They're honest, though. FreedomPaperCompany.com. So we just met, but it feels like you're my brother, because you are my brother.
Because I am.
And so we were walking through the car yesterday, but it's so interesting. These conversations, that was a keynote worth thousands of dollars, $20,000 easily. And so thank you for sharing, because I know you're a businessman, and I know you can get that. So once again, let's have a nice round of applause for Brother Kamose. Correct, Kamose.
Kamose.
That's right, Kamose Muhammad. Thank you so much, my friend. And again, free. Awesome. And one more time, the name, FreedomPaperCompany.com.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you see that logo? That's Africa in the middle. That's how you know. And if I may, Tassetti Inc. So when I talked about finance, Tassetti Inc. TASETIINC.
Okay.
If your business needs capital, the bank says no, we say yes.
I love it.
And you'll control it, your own money.
Okay, so. So again, what a blessing to sit at the feet of this leader today. And again, thank you for your time, my brother. Time is money. A blessing. Coming to the stage. Give her some love as she comes up. Monique Smith joins us. Again, I'm just every week. I believe so. Every week we have these presenters who just blow me away. And again, you say. And so, and again, thank you everybody for coming out. Thank you for coming out. Most of you guys come out every week. Every week it's like a new revelation, new information. Again, you feel like, accidents, these things don't happen by accident. And the fact that we're open, I think, and so this sister right here, somebody, again, I think I probably known for 20 years. And I was talking to her because she's going to share her journey, but this is like if you're watching a movie and the happy ending comes, and she's living through the happy ending, but she's a great person who's doing special things. But when we talk about family, you know how your family gets on your damn nerves. Make some noise if your family gets on. Sometimes your family, they don't mean to. They don't mean to. That's right. And then when you lose your family members, you wish you could have Big Mama back, or you wish you could have that irritating uncle back, or that sister or brother. But imagine not knowing your family at all, not having any idea of who you are. Imagine that life. Well, Ms. Smith's going to share with us her journey. Not just that, but also journey in business and in general. Give it up, y'all, for Monique Smith in the building.
Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, this is Motivational Monday, but reinventing Mark Clark has been a whole nother level of inspiration. Like you said, I've known him way more than 20 years because I used to listen to the Big Fat Morning Show. So if you guys remember how long ago that was. But for someone to still walk in their passion and their dreams and vision, that alone is an inspiration by itself. Ertha, I mean, this facility, again, she's always had that desire, never gave up. I mean, she went from location to location, and that's motivation to know that, there's so much more out there and you're going to keep pursuing it because it's your joy. And I discovered that early on. How many people in the room just feel like you're meant for so much more? That's it. We're all here because we know we're here to network. We're here to meet with other people. And early on in life, I knew that I was meant for so much more. And I'm talking as the early age of 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years of age, where I was physically abused, mentally abused, sexual abused. And I just couldn't for the life of me figure out why this type of pain was being put upon me. And I saw happiness. I had classmates, I had friends, I had neighbors, and I saw adults pour into children. And the minute that I got home and the doors closed, I was chastised just because it was a day of the week. And God forbid if it rained, I was beaten twice. And I kept saying, God, I know I'm meant for so much more. I saw happiness. I happened to use crayons and coloring books and my imagination, in all of that frustration and pain and hurt. And little did I know, through the abuse that lasted up until I was 18, I thought I was doing something. So I run away from home because I'm like, I'm not going to be beaten anymore. I'm not going to be, working and, my checks taken every single day. And I just get enough to have bus fare back to work the following week. And mind you, I have a diploma. I think I'm 18. I have a full-time job. But I'm still coming home to be beaten and my money taken with no explanation. So, I maneuver a way to get the Greyhound bus station here in Baltimore. And I look down and I'm like, oh my God, like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And I grab everybody going to laugh because I know all y'all about my age. I go and I grab a Yellow Pages and I rip out a page of the Yellow Pages. I spin it around, close my eyes, and it says Chicago. And I was like, ooh, it's cold in Chicago. That's no. And then the airway went off and it said, the next bus leaving, gate such and such, And I changed my name. I got to the counter. I said, my name is Monique. They gave me a ticket. I get on this bus, and I'm just feeling freedom. I'm grown. I'm 18. Being light-skinned, curvy, young and immature, of course, I ran into the wrong hands. Again, manipulated, pimped out, the whole entire human trafficking component of it, just even working in the labor force of trafficking. It was just, I went from, it just seemed like the fire, from the pot to the fire. And again, not knowing what was going on. And I kept on saying, God, I know I'm meant for so much more. And I would cry myself to sleep every day saying, I'm grateful because I never looked at like, why me? And, why is this happening to me? Why am I getting beat every day? What did I do to deserve this? And I just kept asking God, like, what next? What next? And I just had to have faith. And I didn't even know what faith was at the time. I think God probably freed me way before I knew I was free. Because I didn't grow up with that animosity and pain and hate. I never wanted to hurt anybody. And so I escaped. I lived in a brothel, which was not a great thing. And I just decided I had to get out of there. I came back to Baltimore, Maryland, the only place I knew. And I never saw my birth certificate, ever. Like, so I would ask the woman who raised me, thinking she was my mother, like, Mom, can I get I'm sick and food. You asked me, so I knew, even though I was an adult, I just didn't want to have to tolerate that. So years went on. Now I was raised as an only child. And I was a graduate of WEB, Women's Entrepreneurs of Baltimore. So, everything I needed required a birth certificate. So I would go back to the lady and, what is my birth certificate? And I'm like, you're 28. Why are you still asking this woman for your birth certificate? But again, like I said, it just never dawned on me. And I go and I write the Department of Social Service. I wanted to write the Board of Education, my baptismal, and I'm getting all this paperwork in it. One said I was born in 66, one said 65, one said my name was Monica, one said Monica, one said Monique, one changed her name several times, and I literally almost hit the floor. Like, I just almost passed out. Like, I could feel the entire room just spinning at at the paperwork. So I get on the phone and I start calling her, her mom. And I'm screaming. I'm like, what is this? You people are a bunch of liars. I'm getting this paperwork in, and she's not who she says she is, and I'm not who I'm supposed to be. And she goes, oh, she didn't tell you, baby. I'm like, tell me what? Oh, baby, she going to tell you. So it just never dawned on me. So you guys are actually looking at an individual that's listed on the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children as missing child number 120-1298. God has given me this assignment to remind the world that all missing children aren't dead. We're here amongst you guys. We just don't know. Now, when that happened, with the pain and the abuse, everything was kind of like coming like, this is what's wrong. This is not a family. These were animals. They were monsters. I went on a multi-state search, but it took me 2 years to get that number. I literally had to tell the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, I'm the missing milk carton kid you guys are looking for. It was just the rarest situation possible. And because of that, they made a special case of helping. And I guess I just happened to have been the first one of a child that was abducted that grew up and went to them to report me. Now, the anniversary date, they put the information in through a portal and see if someone may have put in some data components that would possibly match African-American female, potentially born between this age, because we still had no records of me. So identity theft is just new to you guys. So I've been driving under the fake name. I live under the fake name, and I couldn't go to college because it required license and bonding, everything that I needed for my career goals. I'm like, if I spend all this money, I can't, I may be educated, but I can't pursue the things that I need. So I started buying properties, real estate. I bought one house, I bought another house, and it just didn't dawn on me what was happening. And I started doing the DNA. So I did, the Ancestors.com and 23andMe. Nothing was hitting. Like, absolutely nothing was hitting. And people would then victim shame me. Oh, you're fabricating a lie. That's a horrible thing to have to experience because there was nothing pending. And I'm actually still listed, even though it can be relieved, but it's for record, a deceased registry. Across the country, there's an organization called NAMUS, but it's only ran by each state. And what they do is victims that they found that are homeless in abandoned buildings under park benches and parks, they take a picture of the body, deceased body, take the DNA, and then they serve the body, but they don't keep it. They just keep an archive of it. Crime scenes where a lot of people will not come back and say that claim the family for whatever criminal reason activities. They just don't want to be a part of it. So I'm still listed in the deceased registry. I wanted my story to be told so bad. I'm going to cry, so I get emotional all the time. I wanted my story to be told so bad that I wrote the book. And my book is entitled, I Am the Ancestor. I knew that I had to give my children something. You mentioned ancestry earlier. So I couldn't say that, your great-great-great-grandmother worked at the White House, or baby, you got good hair because you got Cherokee, Indian. You have land, and I had absolutely nothing. I didn't even have a name, no birth certificate, no nothing. I couldn't leave the country, barely could do anything. I was petrified because I was working at Johns Hopkins for 6 years, like the largest medical institution across this country for 6 years as an assistant director. And every month, I would break down literally thinking that someone was going to come in and say, I need we checked your portfolio. We need your driver's license. We need your birth certificate. I would go into the bank. The same exact thing. I'm waiting for them to say, you can't withdraw your funds. You can't do anything, with your mortgages. We need your birth certificate. So I've been living in like anxiety high all the time. But I didn't stop because I knew, say it with me, I was meant for so much more. And living with that, I used whatever I had, and it was nothing to get everything I wanted. I literally went to Enoch Pratt Library and printed out a lease, went to Heckinger's, because there's no more Heckinger's, and got a for rent sign and put it in a property over near Morgan State University so I could purchase my next home. Knew nothing about real estate management, had no guidance or instructions. I used what I had where I was to get what I wanted. And then I bought another home. It's things that I think people live in fear or over management to think that you can't do it. Because again, I was getting promoted through management amongst my peers. And I lost strong friendships. Like, how did she get that job? I got 2 degrees. But my sweat equity and my drive to be for my children meant so much more to me. So the book did really well. We actually got the book in Robin Roberts' hand, but then, of course, she took ill. I took a 57-passenger bus that said, on this bus, there's a missing child that's now a missing adult. I was doing everything in advocacy to get my face out there, thinking that someone somewhere was going to recognize me and say, oh, my gosh, I remember there was a little girl who went, that was missing, da-da-da. It never happened. It never happened. Then after the book did relatively well, I started, thousands. I was on a journey, this mission. I was dead serious. I was sending my book to Oprah, Sally Jesse Raphael, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake. Y'all know all the ones y'all talking about. Ellen and, everyone to try to get some help, manuscripts and books. I mean, it was costly, the postage. And it wasn't working. And my daughter looked at me one day, and she goes, Mom, same thing that God was telling me, like, what are you going to do next? And it was weird because I kept asking God, what next? So I did my own documentary. It came out in Baltimore, Maryland. It was at the Kennedy Theater. It's called The Longest Living Jane Doe. And I pursued it so much. We started going on tour. We went to New York. We went to New Jersey, of course, to D.C. And ironically, COVID came. Of course, we had to shut down the tour. But it didn't shut down God's grace over me. And I didn't get discouraged because I kept thinking, okay, after what am I gonna do now? So I don't know if you guys know an organization called Black and Missing. These young ladies are an organization that feels that obviously Caucasian people get more media attention, exposure. Of a white girl goes missing, you get cadaver dogs, you get helicopters, you get the drones. African American kids go missing, you might get a flyer. So HBO picked up the story to show, let's get this out here. There's a disparity study that we as African Americans need help. And ironically, someone told them about my story, and it was just unbelievable to them. It's impossible. We're working with people who are looking for their missing children. And they go, no, she's the missing kid. No, we're working with people who are looking for missing children. No, she's the missing kid. So I wound up being episode number 4. So if you have HBO, Black and Missing, I'm episode number 4. And the miracles keep coming because I kept telling God, thank you for getting me out of this. And I knew I was meant for so much more. How can I continue to elevate humanity, give back to African American people, give back to me, when it comes to race with missing children, the only race that matters is a race to get a child home. So I'm going to throw that out there. So that's really near and dear to my heart. So I am currently under contract with Lifetime. They actually want to do my story, which is, thank you. And ironically, as a mother, that was my gift to my kids that I had mentioned. I'm no one's sister, no one's daughter, no one's niece, no one's, I had no title but a mother. And if I couldn't give my kids the one role that I had with dignity and, just integrity, self-worth, how was I going to instill that with them? So it's just a beautiful thing. So since that time, I was actually able, there's millions of people online. We always know, everybody see the social media bandits, people jump on. I remember your story. I remember the story. So in 2019, a young lady inboxed me, and she says, you look like this little girl named Felicia Powell that's missing. So I looked at the date of birth, and I was like, okay, I know we got the Angela Bassett genes, but I ain't that old. So I contacted my detective that had been on my case since 2012. She followed protocol, notified the sheriff department in North Carolina to see if I was Felicia Powell, which we knew that we wasn't. But I appreciate everything that all the law enforcement agencies do. They really stick to some of these. It's hard when they say the police don't do anything and I report my child missing and they're not looking for my kid. It's a huge undertaking because I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm an advocate, so it's a lot of work. She got upset and she calls CeCe Moore with Nightline News, who pulled together a team of 5 people to do like this entire concoction of a DNA portal. They just did this whole piece. And ironically, they came across a woman who was 60 looking for the death certificate of her little sister. So I was excited that they did connect me with this woman who was looking for the death certificate of the little sister. So lo and behold, they gave me this phone number. And I'm going to tell you this funny part because there's always joy during your journey. Is that I called the number and I go, hello? Hello! I was like, hi, I was looking for Veronica. Who is this? I said, well, I'm trying to find this family. I don't have time to play games on the phone. I go, I'm not playing games with, I just needed to find out. Well, what is this call about? I said, I got your name from a detective. What do you mean a detective? Who is this? I said, I'm trying to figure out, what is your name? I don't know my name. This is why I'm calling you. She goes, I know your name. I said, what is it? I'm not telling you. I'm over 60, and you're doing this internet thing, and I think you're a scammer. I'm like, a scammer? Like, how many people call you saying that, you could possibly be related? And she goes, well, what do you look like? I go, oh, my God, I don't know what I look like. I don't have any distinguishing features like freckles, dimple, birthmarks. It's nothing. And she goes, I know who you are. I said, well, tell me. I'm not telling you anything. I said, well, you must be my sister because you feisty as hell and so am I. And the phone went click. So I said, she want to know what I look like? Okay, she want to know. I went to social media, and I started uploading pictures. Ping, ping, there I go, pow, 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 pow. And the phone rang again, probably about 10 minutes later. And in that time, she had put and compiled 2 pictures together side by side. We look like identical twins. We look like identical twins, yeah. So unfortunately, my mom had passed away. It's a whole nother story. It's really the horrific situation of heroin in Harlem in the 60s. And it was just a beautiful thing. But she being so young, our mother died when we were children. The woman who abducted me from my mother saw a vulnerable woman with 7 children. My mother was very young. She was having kids at 15, 16, just a throwaway kid, like that one that no one really embraced her. No one, she didn't have a safety net, no umbrella. And I found this out through the DNA piece because, ironically, she didn't have any sisters and brothers either. She was the only child. So there were no aunts and uncles anyway. So this made more of what this woman did, to my mother more tragic. But since that time, I've advocated. I helped Felicia Barnes. I testified with the Felicia Barnes. So now the state of Maryland has a Missing Child Act. We have a vacatur law for human trafficking that helps, victims actually rechange their statuses and criminal activities. And with this 2023 General Assembly, after 7 years, we finally passed the Safe Harbor Bill, which means if you're forced into prostitution, you have a criminal record, they will remove the record on your behalf. So I've used my story and I leveraged it to me in God's way to say, as a survivor, how do you open the door and you bring other people through? Now, the odd part about this is I have navigated through life with the help of God because I worked at United Healthcare for 8 years from doing medical billing. I was the fastest clear. You couldn't tell me nothing. One thing you cannot do is give me an assignment and it do not work. Okay, because they gave me this assignment, and next thing I knew, I was just scaled to management. Same thing happened at Johns Hopkins. But then Johns Hopkins let me go. So they sent the claims division out of state, and I'm like, I'm not moving out of state. I got property here, and da-da-da-da-da. So unemployment ran out after 2 years. You know, the 401k was gone. All my savings options were gone. I was just on background. So I'm father of the children called, joking around. Y'all all right over there? Bruh. And he kind of threw a joke, and I didn't know it wasn't a joke because I was already doing cost proposals and estimates for him before I was working with him. And he goes, you ain't got a secretary, and, you know, I don't have a secretary, you don't have a job. And I just thought it really was a joke. But I came into the office. It was January. I've been there for over 20 years now. Now, that small business was a one-man shop. He had a van, a trailer that was under Dorman Mall, and 2 other laborers. And he's a graduate of Westside Skills Center. When I got there, it was at 1.1 pre-qualified, $1.1 million pre-qualified. Right now, R.E. Harrington Plumbing is the largest. It's $79 million pre-qualified. Thank you. For an African-American business. And when you want to talk back, this brother has positioned himself to have over 45 MBEs and WBs, which means we have women-owned businesses that have dump truck companies, flagging companies, traffic control, African-American men, you know, same thing, trucking companies. They also have heavy equipment, excavating. We do underground utilities, nothing inside of a building. So when you hear there's a water main break, there's a fire hydrant that's been knocked over, when the city doesn't come out, we're one of the larger firms, and we are the only large company, minority, that counters against all of the large Caucasian companies outside of the state of Maryland. So we make sure that we keep the dollar of what we do with taxpayers' money because we're always the lowest bidder. So when you talk about helping back and giving back, it is a lot. It's the burden can be heavy because when people, African Americans, not the crate in a barrel type of thing, you're hungry as much as I'm hungry. And I've worked to have my so I'm giving you and I'm feeding you, but I can't cook the food and prepare the food and then let you eat for free. You have to apply yourself because the burden gets too hard. But as a networking piece, I brought flyers because I really wanted to hand information out. I took advantage of every free. We're a multi-million-dollar company because I took advantage of every free program that the city had. So Paul Taylor, Small Business Division, they have classes every single year. So I got a couple of these. You can make pictures, take a few with you because I want people at all networking events, don't come just to listen. Come to build. Come to learn and to build. Like, I need to just listen to your whole session back all over again because, you know, that was me. That was Jesus. That, you know, I wasn't even rushing like, when I'm going to get my turn? I was like, no, preach, brother. Preach. But I wanted to make sure that you knew about the small business, you know, the Maryland Minority Contractors Association, and what Brandon Scott is trying to do now. Although I'm talking construction, there are other businesses that we're trying to see how we can get them in. So you don't have to have a forklift. You don't have to have a tractor trailer. There could be, this is heavy labor. So people with physical therapy, chiropractor, mental health. There's a lot of entities that we're trying to incorporate, but how? Because technically, if you are in construction, it has something to do with when you're going through the procurement process. They want you to be moving, you know, stone, concrete, brick, you know, things of that nature. But in this industry, they can pull some pieces aside. Project management is definitely a piece. It is not built in there. That comes out of our profit and our operating expenses to do it if we don't do it internally. But then if I hire all of the people outside, then, and I'm the low bidder, I'm not able to really have a profit. So that's how a lot of people can go broke, is you're over-helping, overcompensating because you're paying a little bit more to do the market. So like if a black bank comes in, yeah, I want to support the black bank, but if you can't fund my project and I'm paying extra in the interest rate, compound interest, I want to help you, but I'm not getting any help back. And that's been so hard. But again, about being motivated, please tap into. Don't get discouraged. A lot of people are so upset, like my mom ain't helping me, my cousin or my friends not helping me. That's not their job. I see that all the time on social media. My business would be doing so much better if my family would help me and my friends would give me money. What am I give you money for? Because even in an investment, you're looking for a return on your investment. Now, you got a love offering maybe when you first get going. People are inspired by your movement. They want to support you. You're starting out young. They may give you a few $1,000s or send you an associate at their expense to help you. The mentorship is alive. It's still huge. I do it all the time. I do it every single day. As a matter of fact, I brought extra business cards with my email address on it so people can send me questions after the fact. I can't make a commitment, but then, too, I want to see what you've done. So with the MMC program, and we also have, like I said, the small business division, and then get certified. Do stuff in your downtime that you don't need done. I'm certified for WSSC. That's to do work in D.C. for over 10 years. Do I go to D.C.? No, the infrastructure here in Baltimore, we're 15 minutes away from any kind of damage that's done in the city. So why would I go to WSSC? But in the event, like you said, that the funds fuels run out, I have options to go. So in my downtime, while I'm pre-qualified, I'm listed as an MBE. If I needed to pull a team together because they have an abundance of contracts or money, I can send a whole team to D.C. and do the work. And that's the key. And then I have children who are in the business. So the children that are in the business, I'm trying to prepare them for that generational work. And because I panicked, and this is a blessing that only God gave me, and I didn't realize what happened. I discovered that without a birth certificate, I was paying thousands and thousands of dollars in insurance premiums for my children. I said, oh, my God, if something happened to me, they're little children, no one's going to be here to protect them. And that's why I wrote the book. I wanted the village. I wanted people to read the story. So this woman who wouldn't try to claim my kids because I was still by myself, she couldn't claim the kids. Even though I had their father, still, I was just overprotected. I had to get rid of 2 $600,000 life insurance policies. Not one, 2. $600,000 life insurance policies. Why? Because without a birth certificate, you can't get a death certificate. So I decided early on to purchase a home. They ain't fancy now. Come on, I got some row houses. I decided to buy a home for each of my 4 children. So while I'm alive, I'm instilling value. I'm putting a legacy in them, and I'm teaching them how to live that legacy, together in the event that something happened. And then that way they can pass that on. But that's a beautiful feeling that I'm telling you, that's only by God. Like, without He, there is no me. I'm not here for Moniqueism. There's a whole lot of Moniqueism in there. But, I know by the grace of God that He did this for me. So I just want to encourage anybody on this Motivational Monday, you can do it on yourself. And think about it when you say, I had to do it alone. What did the gentleman say earlier? Mindset. I had to do this alone. Think about it. I had to do it alone. I did it by myself. Change that energy and apply it. I knew I was meant for so much more. I didn't want to continue to say, I was beat, I was raped, I was beat down, no one talked to me. I couldn't advance and get in my career. No, it was like, what next? What can I do next? And just going up the street 2 blocks, I walked literally up the street to get a printout of a lease. That house is paid off. The house has probably been paid off for 10 years, generating more income, for the next generation. It can happen for us all. It's the way that you think of things. It's just definitely the way that you can think of things. So I do have the book is called I Am the Ancestor, but before I die, I must share my story. And you're going to stop stepping on my toes, but I'm going to get to that in a minute, okay? The documentary is called The Longest Living Jane Doe, which has also been featured on the HBO, and it's probably going to be a part of Lifetime. And the latest book, because I didn't put all the stuff from the search, the journey, the process. I was already writing another book before HBO and before Lifetime had gotten to me. It had principles. People would ask me, how did you do all of that with absolutely nothing? So I would just take the child support and raise my kids off of my salary. So I sacrificed living off of just my income, and I put the money into the bank. So I was making large deposits when it came time to purchase the next home. You know, now unfortunately, oodles and noodles was 10 for $1. They 2 for $1 now, so we a little disadvantaged. But it was just little principles and things that you could actually do in the book that I wanted to put in there for the young adults. So I do lectures at Coppin State. I go to Morgan, a couple of the high schools. I'm out of state quite a bit. And so far, to date, the proceeds from my book and documentary, I have donated because the construction company funds my lifestyle. We've hit over $100,000 in monies that we funded for organizations. So I want to thank Mark. I really appreciate, because every platform is so important. So if all possible, we do education, prevention, and protection. Please know, like if you see a missing child flyer, share it out. If an Amber Alert goes off on your cell phone, please don't shut it off like, and you're like, oh, look at it. Cut it off if it's not in your area or your family's area where you can call them. And then they're constantly having walks for awareness. And then, watch what you're doing with your children. A lot of people putting inappropriate pictures up of their children. You're taking photos of your children in front of the schools, and have the conversation. They're uncomfortable conversations that we have to have with our children. If a predator goes online and in your search engine, you ever go in your search engine looking for somebody's name to find them or looking for a news article, if you type in the word runaway, that's all the predator can do, is he can just type that in, and he's going to see a whole bunch of children on social media. I'm sick of my mother. I'm about to run away. My father make me sick. He's deadbeat. I'm about to run away. So then what is he going to do? He's going to start canvassing the area. And let me tell y'all, the white van, could you hold your phone up for a second? This is the new white van. So when you're thinking people are driving around in a white van, abducting and snatching children, and you're worrying about that, this is it. They're grooming our children. We're in the kitchen cooking. They're upstairs in their bedroom sending in inappropriate pictures. They're asking them to sneak out and meet me around the corner. That's the new white van. So you have to shift the mindset of believing that it is how our children are being abducted. It's not the same. So you have to change what you're doing with your conversations every day. Most of my social media platforms is known as Monique. I love it because I never knew my real name. So my foundation was known as Monique because that's who I was known as. And I can openly share that I did discover my real name is Symboli Ruffin. Now, I don't know how I feel about Symboli. It's going to take me a minute to get used to that. And I sure ain't one of them daggone Ruffins. I just must have missed it by a generation. But it is Symboli Ruffin. So if you guys are not motivated by what we heard tonight, with what we can do with the economy and self-worth as African-American and reinvent Mark, I can leave here and just keep watching him and, just be inspired. And I've met so many of you coming on the Motivation on Monday night. And get to learn about who you are and what you do, and that allows me to also share that with my network as well.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of Motivating Monday and the Reinventing Mark Clark podcast. Make sure you tell your friends, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe. And again, go to our website, markclarkmedia.com, to see what's going on in our world. Have a great one, and I'll see you soon.